If you went to MedicareCon this year, you watched my speech about how there's different stages and revenue stages to an insurance agency. And I went over them very quickly in that presentation, but I want to actually go through in depth what it takes to go from, say, 0 to 300,000 to 800,000 to 2 million to 5 million to 12 million to 20 million, if that's where you want to go. So I went through this, and if you're in between 0 to 100,000, there's a few core problems that you have. Mostly marketing. So you probably have no consistent marketing source. You might be relying on referrals, you might be relying on grassroots, or you're not very good at closing the leads that you are getting, and they might be quality, but you might be relying on your upline for leads. They may not have any. You've never been able to find a reliable lead source. And so your problem is you haven't been able to find that. And you need to take the steps to be able to, maybe it's a Facebook lead, maybe it's a live transfer, maybe it's direct mail. There's plenty of reliable marketing sources. My favorite is actually doing it yourself and figuring it out in that way. But that was just something that I got good at early on for me to scale from, say, 0 to now $12 million a year as an insurance agency. We got good at marketing. We chose to learn Facebook ads. We own a mail house now. We own all of this stuff. And while I was selling Medicare every single day, I was working on Facebook ads and copy and creative at night to learn how to go faster. And that's one big proponent of how we've been able to go really fast is we've learned the marketing to the tune of spending $300,000 a month, which is small numbers to some, big numbers to others, but we're spending about $300,000 a month on marketing. Whenever you do that amount of numbers, that amount of marketing, you learn what works, what doesn't, what you should do more of, and what you should do less of, as long as you have the right tracking in place. Also, between 0 and 100,000, you lack any sort of new client opportunities. Like, you spend most of your time wondering where the new business is. You're not sitting with clients, you're wondering where the clients are, and that all comes from having no consistent marketing source. So maybe you're a grassroots person, that's great. You need to turn it into a math problem. You say, if I go to this many events, I go to this many food pantries, I do this many things, here's the result that I get, and here's how many times I need to do it in order to get to my goals, whatever. If it's 500 clients, 5,000 clients, 50,000 clients, whatever it is, you need to figure out the math and what you generate from each event so that it turns into a math problem, not just a guessing game. The other one would be a lack of follow-up systems. So you have no CRM, you have no automation, you don't know, you have to go to the carrier portals to find all of your clients. You don't know where anything is. Again, it's a very reactive process versus a proactive process. To get to the next level, it's on you. You have to create a consistent marketing source. It could be buying leads from a direct mail vendor. It could be turning 65 seminars, Facebook leads, taking inbound consumer click-to-call, inbound calls. It could be any of those things, but until you find that, until you make it a math equation, it's going to be very difficult for you to scale. You need to present and close the 12 new clients per week, and then build a client database. Well, a lot of people are using Go High Level. Nowadays, that's what we use internally. People use Salesforce, they use Excel, they use HubSpot, they use all of these different CRMs. It doesn't actually matter what you use, it matters what you actually use, if that makes sense. It doesn't matter which one, it matters that you actually use it at the end of the day. And so to get to that next point of the next stage, which is 100,000 to 300,000, you need to master each of these. And I promise you, as long as you're consistent over a 12-month period, you're gonna break through the $100,000 mark. Now, a lot of people are able to do that. They say, I'm making 100,000, it's great, I just wanna go faster, and I wanna make more money at the end of the day, because 100,000 is great in today's world, but it's not what everyone thought it was, say, 10 and 20 years ago. And so the problem is you're bringing on all the clients, but it's only from one source. If you're a grassroots person, it's all grassroots. If you're a seminar person, it's all seminar. If you're a Facebook ads person, it's all Facebook ads. And when that goes down, you go down. And if you want to get to the $300,000 mark, you're gonna have to diversify a little bit to get there. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to get to 300,000 with one marketing source, because it 100% is possible. But when the mail gets there late, or your Facebook ads account gets restricted, or the inbound call company gets shut down, it's gonna slow you down. So you need to diversify, that way you can get clients from multiple different places. You have a CRM, but you don't know actually how you make money. You don't know your cost of acquisition. You don't know your return on ad spend. You don't know if you're making the most money off of your grassroots or your seminars or something else, you don't know. You know you're making money, you just don't know how. And 30 to 50% of your time is spent on non-revenue producing activities. So this could be servicing your book, it could be sending out cards, it could be organizing your CRM, it could be sending out birthday cards, it could be doing renewals, whatever it might be. This is not creating new revenue for your business. And in order to get to the next echelon of income, meaning 300K to 800,000, you're gonna need to diversify your marketing sources. So if you're doing Turning 65 seminars, add in maybe direct mail, add in some sort of inbound call mechanism to your direct mail, add in something that's gonna get you clients from more than one source. So like today, we bring on about 1,400 clients a month across our different companies. We probably have 80 or 90 different marketing sources. So we love Facebook ads, but we started a mail house to simply diversify. If one day our Facebook ads account goes down, now we have the mail house. Then we also do Google, we do seminars, we do TV, we do webinars, we do all of this stuff, not only because it all makes us money, but to have a diversified approach in case one goes down, we can just ramp up another. And if that one goes down, we can go to another and ramp that up. And we know our numbers behind all of it. At this point, you need to hire an administrative staff. This is a big step for a lot of people. It's been you for a long time, but you're banging your head against the wall because not only are you doing the marketing, you're running your profit and loss, or maybe you're outsourcing that to like a third-party accounting firm. You're doing the new client meetings, you're servicing them, AEP's a wreck. You don't even know what's going on. You know, like at the end of the year, you make $200,000 a year net. You just don't know how it's happening, and you're getting tired and you're getting burnt out. So to get to the next level again, you need to know your revenue KPIs. I look at return on ad spend, and a KPI is a key performance indicator. And you just need to understand how you actually make money. I talk to a lot of business owners, a lot of insurance agents and agencies, and they have no idea how they make money. They know they do, they just don't know how. And once you understand how, you can do more of that activity and therefore get a bigger result. And once it's measurable, you can scale from there as well. So, next one. Oops, let's go back one. Oh my. Okay, 300,000 to 800,000. So the problem, you're doing everything. Like I mentioned earlier, you do this in 100K to 300, but you also do it a lot more in 300K to 800K, because at this point, you probably have between 800 clients and 2,500 clients, and you're doing everything. Like AEPs go crazy for you. You can't get to everyone. You want to bring on new business, you want to grow, but in AEP, you don't really grow because all you're doing is servicing your book of business. It could be a lot of WellCare PDPs. It could be a lot of not new revenue producing activities. Your net margins are likely really high because it's maybe you and an assistant. You don't have like a massive team, but so you're making a lot of money. You don't really want to take a cut on that, but you know that's what's necessary to get to the next level of 800,000 to 2 million. So what has to happen is you have to make less money for a small amount of time to make more money and have more freedom in the future. This is a sacrifice that not a lot of people are willing to make. I talk to people at Medicare Con, they're making $800,000 a year as a Medicare agent. They've been doing it 15 years, but they are burnt out. Sometimes they even say they hate it. You're gonna take some chips, put it back into the business, hire staff, do good marketing, trust your team, and then you can scale it, and then you can actually make more money than that. You're just gonna have to take less money for, we'll just call it 2 years. So again, I mentioned it earlier, AEP is a wreck. All your clients want you. They're like, if I can't work with Beth, if I can't work with James, I'm going somewhere else. This is a scary thing for a lot of people. But what happens is whenever you train a team really well, you can trust to pass off these clients. The only reason you won't do this is because you don't believe in your training. You don't believe in your people. It's not that no one can do what you do, it's that you're not good enough at training and developing and onboarding to get a person to do exactly what you do. Because anyone can do what you do. Heck, if you think about it, think about it in that way, you were once a lot worse than what you are now. And in order to be who you are today, you had to develop and you had to learn. Well, you need to take your team through that same development process. You need to take your team to conferences and events and development and invest in them. And when you can invest in them, they grow the company for you. You assemble the team, they do the rest. But you can't do that until you let go and invest in your team. So you're making a lot of money. You own a high-paying job, but you don't own a business. When you're gone, all the income's gone. If you're in Mexico for a week, no new income comes through. You might have some renewals, but everything that you do has 100% to do with how your business is doing. So to get to the next level, you need to hire a sales team. In this scenario, we suggest an LOA sales team so that you own the book of business. That doesn't mean you're taking advantage of someone, because we have LOA agents that are making way more money, having a way better time on our team than the average independent agent. You need to become a marketer. You need to be able to fill the seminar. You need to be able to fill the pipeline. You need to be able to fill the room so that your people have opportunities to sell and you can make it profitable. You need to become data driven. So rather than going off of a feeling, I've done this myself, rather than going off of a feeling, you go off actual number. It's not, I feel like this campaign is working. I feel like we're doing this. I feel it is, here are the numbers to support this, and here's why I'm making my decision. You have to change. That was a big thing for me. I had to go from a feeling to an actual data driven decision, and it made my company more profitable. It made the team more aligned, and it overall just better. You need to make decisions off of data, not off of feeling. And you need to hire multiple administrative staff to service all the new clients you're bringing on. You might even need to ascend a customer service lead, a manager, whatever you want to call it, to be able to manage that team. So that's $300,000, $800,000. Now to go to the next, I think this is probably the worst place you can be in business. Not to kind of pop the bubble out there, but when I was at this stage in business, we weren't making a lot of net margin. I had finance reporting to me. I had marketing. I had sales. I had service. Everyone was asking me questions all the time. I still had to sell because we weren't making enough money to be profitable off of the team at this point. And I wanted to blow my brains out at this stage in the business. Everyone is reporting to you. You're everything. You're not only everything to all of your clients, you're everything to every one of your team members. And that has to change. You need to ascend leadership at this point. Your initial marketing efforts, the one that has always been working, you started spending more and it broke. So now you have to, that diversified approach that I was talking about, you now have to go to the next step, split more ads, try more things. You're gonna burn money, but it's gonna be worth it to get to the next level of business. Again, I believe this is the worst place to be if you're trying to grow. Now, if you've been in business for 30 years and you're making $2 million a year top line and $800,000 a year bottom line, be my guest. I'm just talking about going fast. I'm talking about going like really, I'm 28. You know, we did this within our first 2.5 years of being in business as like a true entity. The next level, you need to build true employee onboarding. I mentioned it earlier. You don't trust your team because they're not trained well enough. Whose fault is that? It's yours as the business owner. So you need to have a true, probably HR department, employee onboarding, employee training, documented maturity model of how you can go from here to here to here, and how you can ascend through the company to not only make yourself more money, but also to make the company more money. You need to develop other streams of marketing. So if you're doing a lot of seminars, you probably need to be doing Facebook and Google and potentially TV and webinars and all of this different stuff. You need to mess with a lot of vendors. You need to mess with a lot of platforms. You just need to try a lot of things until you find something that works. And if you're committed to it, you will eventually find something that works. You need to promote leaders. So you probably have someone within each of your departments, service, sales, marketing, finance, HR, legal, whatever you got going on, that has the highest standard. This is the person, in my opinion, that you promote. It's not the best salesperson always. It's not the best this. It is the person with the highest standard. The person that is going to dilute from you, that aligns with your vision. That's the person you promote so that they can dilute down to your teams. So you also need to build a documented client journey so that people can follow it. A standard operating procedure database. We have one that's called Find. We use it every single day. We probably have 2,500 different articles in there of here's exactly how you do this within our agency. This took years to develop. We built it from scratch. But you have to have these things in order to get to the next level. And you might be asking yourself at this point, like, is any of this worth it? And I can tell you, after you get through these harder parts, it can be everything you want it to be. These are just the steps you have to take. You can be upset about this. You can get emotional. This is just my opinion on how you actually grow quickly. Not saying if you want to go slow, like that's fine. This is just how you do it really fast. As fast as you probably want to do it. So from 2 million to 5 million, everyone's kind of trained. You have departments, but everyone doesn't 100% know what they're doing. They're doing this, but they're doing service, but they're also doing a little bit of marketing, and marketing's doing a little bit of finance. Everybody's a little bit all over the place. There's no consistent system to bring on new staff. So whenever you hire someone, you're just like, shadow me for the day. See what I do. It's not consistent. It's not good onboarding and training. There's no documentation, there's no roadmap, there's nothing. You're making, again, decisions off of a feeling rather than data, and nothing is standardized. Sally in service does a client doc this way, and Jim in service does it this way, and this person sells the policy this way. Everybody's doing it their own way. What needs to happen is everyone needs to do it the company's way. And not everyone's going to fit into that, but that's what it takes to get to the next level. You need to develop an HR department and true onboarding. People need to actually be developed and learn about your company. And if they're in sales, they need to learn about Medicare and how, like, we have a 3-week onboarding class. This took time to fit. We revamp it every single month. We bring on a new class every single month of agents, constant revamping, constant improvement. This only makes us better as a company, and we learn something every single time, and we try to improve it. Develop an employee maturity model. So this is how you can go from, say, a sales rep to a manager to a director to C-suite, all the way up to even potentially the CEO. This is how you do those things. You ascend across the company, and this will build a vision for your team that is worth following. So you give your leaders more opportunity. The things that you are doing now, you hand it off to them, and you trust them you show them how to do it, then you trust them to do it, and you don't micromanage. I let my managers do almost whatever they want, but they know that I have a standard that they need to uphold to, and they do for the most part. Develop standard operating procedures and keep the team accountable to them. So when you see something that needs to be done, you always revert back to the SOP, the standard operating procedure. And you say, this is, as a company, is exactly how we do it, and we do it like that over and over and over again. And you explain why. You explain, this is why we do it this way. And this is why it makes sense to the client. This is why it makes sense to the company. And when you explain the why behind a lot of things, you can get an aligned team. If you just say, do this, do this, do this, and you don't explain why and the philosophies behind it, it's hard to get a team to follow. But when you explain the why behind why you do things, the way you do them, when you do them, how you do them, the team will finally understand, and then they'll take those philosophies and implement them into other things. One thing that's really cool about our standard operating procedure platform is I've not built 99% of it. My team has built 99% of it, and that's what happens when you have people that are aligned. So, brings me to my next point. 5 to 12. Departments start to form, and you get a team that is somewhat unaligned with you as the owner. And this is where it takes true leadership of directors, of managers, of team leads to align. You invest in the team. This is what I did. I invested in my team very hard. I invested in my managers, my directors, my team leads. I sent them to conferences. I still send them to conferences. And I said, guys, I want you to see what I see. And when they do the money that you spent on conferences, spend it on your team. Do the things with your team. You're also, you can't attract good talent because you're not a great company, if I'm just being honest with you. Like, if nobody wants to work for you, it's not the economy, it's not politics, it's not this or that, it's that you're not a great company. If you can't get A players to work with you, it means you're not an A company at the end of the day. So, sales team isn't consistently hitting targets because they're not A players. So it all comes back to recruiting A talent. And then operations and client success are not consistent in delivery. That's not deliver, but delivery. And so the next level is real benefits, overly competitive wages, ability for staff ascension, meaning they can rise through the company. Cross-selling must become a staple within the sales team so you can increase your LTVs. Focus changes from CPA to LTV, cost per acquisition and lifetime value. So whenever you're getting started, you think, I need to get my cost of acquisition down to nothing, down to zero, $25, $50. We focus more on LTV because we know that is actually what moves the company forward. And your agency now has departments. So whenever you're trying to get from 5 to 12, you have to ascend department heads, team leads, directors, managers, whatever you want to call it. You need leaders that report directly to you that can run the specific departments. They need to have expertise. You can't just throw anyone in that role. But as long as they have the standards of you, as long as they have the expertise, I'd say give it a shot and see what happens. Again, you're going to make mistakes. We've hired and ascended and done that all wrong so many times, but we continue to improve, improvise, change things, improve things all the time so that we can be a better company. So how do you go from 12 to 18? I haven't personally done it, so I'm not going to tell you how to do it. But in the comments below, if you'd like to learn more about how we do things, what we do, why we do them, like I mentioned earlier, there's a school group. You can see about how we do seminars and how we do webinars and how we develop our sales team. So if you'd like to see more about what we do, join the school group. Appreciate all the input.